What episode number is it?
I think it's 9.
9?
I never know. I should start.
You guys got a rhythm going?
No.
Loosen me up, dude. I'm fucking nervous. I'm nervous. No, I'm nervous.
We don't have a good rhythm going, but we're trying to develop it. And part of that was like getting this interface, which can record 3 people at once. It can actually record 4 people at once, which is cool. But we have obviously that's not been. You're the first person that we've recorded with this new piece of gear that we got. So that's pretty cool. Before we were using Zach's interface. So this is welcome to Snakes and Bunnies studio here at Bunnywood Ranch.
This is a cool house.
It's a super cool house.
This dude and his wife like have like a chill, like kind of like retired hippie vibe.
Yeah,
you know?
I literally walked in and they had their
house.
cat on a leash.
Yeah.
And they were all just sitting on the couch and they're like, "Oh, we're just bird watching. It's our cat's favorite part of the day."
Dude, Jim and Mary Lou are so rad. I met them at Burning Man. I told you guys that already, but I didn't tell y'all. Yeah, it's just been it's been good times.
Did you meet them in the orgy tent or what?
No, I met them. I met them in this part of a part of the place called Giggsville, and Giggsville is like where they blow up cars and stuff.
Sick.
The motto is safety third. Everybody dresses super steampunk.
That's sick.
I was on copious amounts of drugs at the time.
Wait, you do drugs?
How long are you sober again?
7 years.
7 years? Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been in sobriety yet to Burning Man?
No, actually, I haven't. The last time I went to Burning Man was 2017, right before I got sober.
Okay.
Right before. And I was tripping really hard on LSD. And I like sat down in the middle of the playa, and here comes like a giant shopping cart and a lamprey fish, and like those things were real. They're art cars, right?
Yeah.
And they're just blasting. There is so much. There's so much EDM being pumped at me from every single direction, and everybody's wearing lights. And I just sat down and I was like, why did I have to trip on acid to do this? You know, like this is pretty intense already.
Dude, I can only imagine.
I feel like that probably made it a lot better though. I mean, come on, we're not gonna lie.
It was an experience for sure.
What's the weirdest thing you saw?
I saw a man jump to his death
No
I'm
way.
sorry, what?
while I was tripping on acid. And
All right,
That
now,
that
here
actually
we go.
happened.
Yeah, we're gonna need that story.
Okay, so it's the night of the burn, the big burn, where they burn the man. And this dude, I mean, we're all sat around the thing, and it's the flames go up, and it's really intense. Like if you've seen a big structure burn before, if you've never seen it before, it's like really, it's like verging on psychedelic. Just how insane the proportions of the flames get. It's like, it's mesmerizing and it's terrifying and it's gorgeous and it's like, it's all of these things at once. It's death and life and fucking, it's terrifying. Well, some dude runs past all the people. There's people guarding people from doing this very thing, but he like juked him out and jumped into the flames.
Oh no.
And I was like,
Wait, you were there that year?
Yeah. And I was watching the whole thing and I was like, oh my God, there goes a guy. Oh
Like
my
that
God.
happened.
No. And he jumped into the fire, right? And they couldn't, and then right when he jumped in, the structure collapsed on top of him.
Oh no.
Just a piece though, like a smallish piece, but you know, big, like some wood fell on him, some burning wood.
Okay, dude, I saw this video on like YouTube years ago. This was like 2016.
This was 17.
It was 2017. Yeah. I saw that video. That's because I remember when that was a thing. It went viral, and I was like, "Oh, this has got to be fake." You were there, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I was tripping on acid.
Yeah,
and so it was very disturbing. But what was crazy was that I really felt like I understood why he did it. Like I kind of felt like he saw it, and he was like nothing matters. Like it broke his mind. He was like, nothing matters. I have to get in there. It's over. And I was just like, I felt like I was with him when he ran and jumped in. But then again, I was tripping on a lot of acid.
He's a part
That's
of all
literally
of us.
the end. That's the end of Midsummer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never seen it. Thanks for ruining it. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I seriously haven't seen it.
The SOMMAR movie, that one?
Yeah.
Or that was mad disturbing.
It's probably the most disturbing film I've ever seen. It just the sound design alone it made me itch.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I gotta
That's
watch
a
it.
rabbit.
Huh?
You start
I
talking
gotta
about
watch
disturbing
it.
movies. That's
it's
the whole rabbit hole.
I would watch it again, but never alone. Again, it's like it's not like it's it's just so unsettling the entire time, every aspect of it.
Yes.
I feel like we should introduce.
Yes. Yes, let's introduce. First of all, this is Welcome to Rolling Sober. This is episode, I think it's 9. Don't quote me on that.
They will.
Yeah, we're going to put it in there. My man said 9 and it's actually 8 or whatever it is. I think it's 9. It might be 10. But whatever the number, this didn't happen soon enough. Our good friend Andrew has been coming to Rolling Sober since day one. He was a day one. We all 3 were, actually.
I wasn't a day one.
He actually was not.
I came
weren't there on
in
day
like
one?
months later.
Yep.
No, it wasn't months later.
It was at least a month later.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No.
No,
Yes,
it was up and running because I remember somebody like, what's his name? Blanking on his name. The little kind of like Hispanic dude that comes. He's a little older.
You talking about Kurt?
Yeah, dude, Kurt. He's my boy, bro. I feel bad. I'm
he's
so
such a
bad with
sweetheart.
names. I'm so bad with names. He gives me a hug like every day.
Yeah.
He was like, dude, you got to come to Rolling Sober. Like, it's jujitsu, it's sobriety. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really. And that's when the trippy shit happened where like him and I exchanged numbers. And it was like we already had a convo about this from like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
We're talking about like a sober, but we were like blue belts at the time.
Yep.
So like we just
Wait,
weren't
you had
ready.
like a text thread of it?
Yeah, text thread.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't
We'd
know
already been talking about it. Like
Yeah.
just like, wouldn't it be cool to have like a meeting and da-da-da? You got to go on though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it was crazy. It was so funny. Like you and I had already talked about it. I swear that he came to like the second one.
He did not.
God, damn
I'm
it.
not trying to gaslight you, bro. I know he didn't because
I know I didn't.
I had come for like at least a month every weekend, and I had talked to Kurt in the meeting. He's like, "Oh, you got to talk to Andrew." And I went up to there's another Andrew who's blonde, and I was like trying to talk to him about it. He goes, "What are you talking? I don't do jujitsu."
As a rule of there's like, it's a running joke at that meeting. There's like 9 Andrews.
So, but back to it. Andrew's been coming to Rolling Sober since close to the very beginning.
First year, you're one guy.
Yeah, and he's been a staple of the meeting, and it's been dope. We do jujitsu, and we end up teaching a lot of guys who don't know any jujitsu,
That's the best part.
and it is the best part, and that's really why I at this point as like a higher belt and someone who's been sober for a while, like at this point, that's what I wanted was to like help dudes who have never found a cool thing like that for themselves to do to like focus on something.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say that I'm super stoked that you've been a part of it, man, because you add a lot to it. He immediately came and was like, I'm running warm-ups. And I was like, oh, okay, go ahead.
I didn't say that. I was like, do you want, I don't know how it happened, but I've just appreciated from the beginning your willingness to kind of like let other people jump in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because you could be like, oh, this is my show, da da da.
Yeah.
But I think it's found like a really nice groove. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's helped my jiu-jitsu like infinitely, like
Yeah.
teaching and stuff. And
Yeah.
like I'll go to my classes during the week and I'll just bring it to Rolling Sober on
Tilt
Sunday.
it towards your mouth.
And then I'll just kind of go back over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like whatever I learned. And
Yeah. It's wild like how when you're teaching jujitsu, you learn so much more
yeah.
than just because you have to teach it to yourself in order to teach it.
Mm-hmm.
You're teaching yourself twice. You have to like develop a language for understanding it to explain it to yourself so that you can articulate it to
Right.
someone.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. So I was going to say. So basically, you're saying that as a white belt, I should start teaching.
100%.
Anything you know, I think you can, as long as you're teaching it, you're learning it, you're mastering it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like as a white belt, I think you always have to be a student. So it's like they say like the black belt's a white belt never quit, all those like kind of tropes. Is that the right word? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's true. And it's like the longer I train, the more I realize it's just like I'll learn a new thing about an armbar that it's like I've learned an armbar a million times, but it's like it's just the white belt mentality has to be the ongoing thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Because you do end up learning little micro adjustments. And as someone else teaching you the armbar and you learn like a new aspect of the armbar, it could change your whole game. You know? Then there's like the thing of, you know, going down a rabbit hole of not trusting your own technique. You know what I mean? That can be bad too, though. You know what I mean? Like being so open-minded that you never trust your own technique when you develop a
Right.
game. Like you, at some point, you have to decide this is what works for me.
This works, yeah.
You know, obviously while maintaining your open mind and being open to learning. new
Crone
stuff.
talks about that a lot. He just talks about kind of like around black belt, you can start adding your own creativity into it, you know. And he talks about his dad giving him the foundation, but then once his dad moved back to Brazil, he was kind of on his own, you know? So like most of his jiu-jitsu he developed was like kind of beyond the time when his dad was even there. You know, it
Yeah.
gave him the foundation. And so like for people that don't, Hickson Gracie is his dad. You guys, most people listening probably know, but like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just and that just hearing that and being around people that like affirm the creative aspect of it, you know,
Yeah.
and hearing that it's an art, you know, and
Yeah.
like regarding yourself as an artist kind of helps. Cause for the longest time I was like, oh, jujitsu's like, it's like this, it's tough guys trying to spiritualize fighting. And then I was like, nah, like, but I'm an artist, like I'm sensitive, you know, like, and I don't do like much striking is like, yeah, I don't want to get punched in the face. I'm not interested in bloodying somebody up really. But like jujitsu allows me to like kind of bring my creativity into it. You know what I mean? And so that's why I think that you guys, I'm like, okay, these guys are artists. Like you're going to be good, you know, because you're an artist, you know, and I can feel when I roll with you and you're like, you know, so it's dope.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, whenever you guys roll, what's the consensus? Who's usually winning? Is it usually
Shut
a pretty
up.
even
Between
fight?
me and him?
No, it's a legitimate question. Yeah,
There's no
I'm not
scoreboard.
asking it for like
No.
a scoreboard. I'm just curious
Yeah.
because I've seen you guys roll with other people. And when I first came in, I remember asking you guys when you first came in because I saw you were both purple belts at the time, and I was like, "Hey, why don't you guys roll?" And you're like, "Sure." And then him being like, "Fuck, dude, damn, you're small, but that worked." And then
It's not that he's small. It's like I do have a bit. How much do you weigh?
Right now I'm 160-ish.
you never ask a lady that, but all right.
Dude, I'm 205 right now.
Yeah.
Or like 201 when I wake up. But it's just like there's difference. Like, you know, I think that James has a really good game that he's developed for himself. And then I'm always trying to kind of play the like, I guess the lineage that I came from is like get really good at surviving. And I'm trying to like move and just stay moving and be really tough to kill. And then if I get an opportunity, then I can go for something. So I mean, like James is my buddy. Like I'm not trying to like kill him. You know what I mean? He's not trying to kill me. But I'll joke. I'm like, what level of trauma are we like bringing to this role right now?
Right.
It's just like,
He has said that.
like I'm saying, it's like it's cool because I can tell we both have that switch where it's like, all right, like we can turn it on.
Yeah,
you
do you
know,
want to
like,
go? I remember this one time.
Go, dude.
I was actually thinking earlier about there's a guy in the Pasadena gym who rolls a little too hard.
Right.
You know, every gym has one.
Yeah.
And I remember one time just like getting really like aggro and like being really precise, but like really muscling and like turning on like the mean muscle. And then like getting into a position where it was like dominant and then just kind of like just cooking the full because you know what I mean? Like
It feels
I was
good.
upset, you know,
Dude.
which I hate that I allowed myself to get upset, but sometimes you have to go there in order to, I mean, like it's good practice sometimes, right?
This happened to me yesterday.
Yeah.
Like I was sad because like my girls like moved to Ojai for a month. So like it brought up all this stuff and I was like, man, why am I bummed right now? Like I just felt that kind of like sadness just permeating and I was like, all right, I kind of feel like this heaviness and I went to train and then like this like white belt comes who's like probably like 220, you know, and he just came for like the workout. He missed the class, you know, and then he shows up. He's like, you want to roll? I'm like cold, you know, and I'm just like, all right, let's go, dude, you know, and like I could just tell that I was having to do more than I wanted to do against him, which got me angry. and then I like tapped him out like once or twice, and then like I was gassed. Like it just like I redlined. And I could tell my coach was just sitting there like watching me, you know what I mean? I was pissed during that. He's like, I could tell you were mad, but like, he's like, I get it though. Cause the guy comes, he doesn't do the class, you know, he just wants to like get a sweat and you're like, fine, dude. Like, and I don't like the redlining. I think the goal is to like have as many roles as I can where I'm not redlining. And I think that the rolling sober aspect, like being sober and training jiu-jitsu, like I would probably redline still almost every round if I had no recovery. You know what I mean?
If we were still in our addiction, we'd
Dude,
be
100%.
We'd be little monsters,
'Cause
and not
jujitsu-
in like
yeah.
not in a good way. Because
Yeah.
someone could be a jujitsu monster, and you're like, oh, the guy's a monster. I'm talking about we would be awful. We'd just be awful.
It would just be bad.
We'd be the bad people to roll with.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean-
speaking of sobriety, man, we could go on about this, and we'll get back to the jiu-jitsu, but I feel like we kind of need to get a little bit of your story, man.
My story?
Yeah, dude, tell us your recovery story. Like,
Dude,
when did you
it's-
start drinking?
Yeah.
When did you start?
It's so not exciting. You know what I mean? Like that's why I was talking about Shane. I'm like, dude, Shane, he got shot, and then he's like this inspiring story, but I'm like, I don't have that. Like, I'm like a white Jewish kid from West LA. You know what I mean? I felt bad about myself because like I had knew richer kids, you know, like that's kind of how, but I think it didn't start there. It was like, I was, I think that I just didn't feel like I fit into my family. You know what I mean? How deep do we want to go? You want to go childhood recovery story? I mean, that's kind of where like, I think the dominoes started falling in like this sense of like, I'm not enough. Like, I don't fit in here. Like, my parents felt like they didn't like me that much, you know? Like, they love me, dude. They were always there, you know? My sister, she was like the little dancing golden child, like, hogged all the attention. I kind of developed this, like, brooding, I got to sulk in the corner vibe to, like, get their attention, you know? So I set up these patterns, and I took that into school, and then I got diagnosed ADHD, which I think I still have, but, like, at this point, I'm not going to go on meds or anything for it. So it's just like, whatever. I had that. And then like, I get prescribed Adderall. So around like 7 or 8, I was on like Adderall. And I just remember like, man, it's sad because I would just go to school and I was pretty free through elementary school, feeling pretty good about myself. But once I started taking those, it just shut me down. You know what I mean? I think my emotional growth was like stunted, and like, I would just had no appetite. My mom would pack me a lunch. I'd just throw it in the trash. You know, like the only thing I had to look forward to was just I had baseball. You know, I was like, I loved baseball. I was like, I want to play for the Dodgers someday. I was just obsessed with baseball. Played Little League, you know.
I could see you being an MLB player.
You know, dude, that was my first dream. And that's why I didn't start jiu-jitsu until I was 28, because I tried to pursue that through college a little bit, you know. And so that's kind of my drunk log. It's like high school is pretty normal, drinking, smoking weed. Because I had baseball, I didn't really fully go down the rabbit hole. You know what I mean? But I would wake up. I remember around like 9th or 10th grade, I had this like burning feeling of anxiety every day, just like a burning in my stomach. And like when I discovered weed, that was the first thing I felt genuinely made it go away, you know? And so my routine became like, I would go to baseball practice. I'd make it through the day, you know, somehow, like just skate by with C's, whatever. And then I would roll a little tiny joint, like a little spliff, and I'd go to In-N-Out and get like a 5x5, you know, and like that was it. So that kind of got me through high school. And then, but like there's like porn addiction and stuff in there too. I think that was my first drug, you know what I mean? Was like my neighbor's dad had a subscription to Penthouse. And like, I just wanted to go over there and fucking go in the bathroom and just like steal his magazine. You know what I mean? That was like the best part of my life.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's that, you know, and and like watching like the Spice Channel, remember that? Like it would come in like scrambled, like channel 98.
Yeah.
You know, and you could see like a tit once in a while.
Yeah.
Like that was like what I like 12-year-old me, dude, just like watching the Spice Channel scrambled for like hours after school. So that was kind of like that shit was always in there, you know, and the love addiction part. Like I would always have, all the way back to preschool, dude, I would have a girl that I would obsess over, you know, and I'd be like, and I realized it truly is like a fantasy, is like a real addiction, because like I couldn't connect to them, because if I did, it would ruin the fantasy, you know? So like I had to like never go up and like develop real like confidence and like, oh, I can talk to a girl and this is me and show myself, be vulnerable. No, it was all fantasy, because like I would get high just being around them, be like, oh, there's Marissa. You know what I mean? Oh my God. So I had one of them.
Shout out to Marissa.
Shout out Marissa, dude. I don't even know, and like I'd say her last name, but that was the kindergarten one, you know. And then of course, dude, there was always some guy that they liked better, you know what I mean? And I compared myself to that dude, you know, and would like cut myself down. And the girl that actually did like me was like, oh, like, you know. So all those patterns are in there. Family shit.
Let me ask you this: so
Yeah.
whenever you had this, that like the person that you would obsess about, whenever there was somebody else that liked you, did you ever find like it was extremely hard to connect with them? Even if you did like this person, you were like, oh, I can't do it with this person because I'm obsessing about Melissa.
Yeah, it was never the girl that I genuinely wanted that liked me. You know what I mean? Until I got to like college, like the girl that became my girlfriend in college, I like did not like really like her that much. You know what I mean? She was hot and we partied and had fun, but it was like, I was like, no, like this can't be like my best option. You know what I mean? Like it was just, but
You're always wanting something else.
always somebody better. You know what I mean? So
I've heard that's like a common thing with love addiction, that people are constantly thinking about someone else, somewhere else, that,
that could be like an avoidant thing. I mean, we could pop the like attachment theory, like all that stuff. My grand sponsor had a good way of saying it. He'd be like, okay, the sex addict goes to Starbucks and he's like, the barista's hot. And he's like, I got to get that. I got to capture the flag. You know what I mean? I just got to hit it and I'm done. The love addict goes into Starbucks and falls in love and creates a story about like how they're going to get married and goes back in every day and is like, oh, I got to like tip her, and then like tries to hang out longer and, oh, she put a heart on my name today, like it becomes like this whole like romantic thing that's just existing in your head. So that's the love addict. I got both, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm a fucking addict, dude. So I got both those things going on, and that gave me a lot of trouble. And I think the combination of all that with drinking and partying and taking Adderall just to function. So like I went to an art school. I went to a couple normal schools to pursue baseball for college. And that's a whole story. I went to UMass Amherst for 1 year, which was random. And it was like, I was just in Massachusetts, and like it was just freezing cold. And I was like, and it was a weird year too. Like the Red Sox won the World Series. Like I got to like be a part of history kind of, and it was dope. But all the same shit happened, it was just like getting blacked out, miserable. Came back to LA, went to school in Santa Barbara for a year, which was kind of cool. Like had like an ocean view from my apartment, tried to play baseball there. Kind of crashed out in baseball, not because of drinking, just had like a bad run of it, and it was just like, okay, like I'm probably not gonna be a pro. So I just like stopped baseball. And then that's when like the drinking and shit kind of really, I wouldn't say intensified too much, but it just became like, I just didn't have anything grounding me anymore. Cause up to that point I had like a sport that I was like, no, it's all about baseball, And that's why I like when I got sober, found jiu-jitsu, it was like, okay, cool. Like just transferred that into that, and there was a few years in there where it was just like, I guess I'm a yogi, like I'm going to do whatever. So, you ask a question?
Well, yeah, I just want to know, like, you said that you were kind of blacking out when you were drinking, I think when you were in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And so you were a blackout drinker?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that was my go-to. I was more of a rager when I would drink.
Oh, really?
Like my memory of like drinking when it wasn't good was like being in Isla Vista. You know where Isla Vista is? Like Santa Barbara. It's like the big party town. It's like it's like by UCSB, but like the whole area is basically like on a bluff, or at least the main drag where everybody like walks around. And it's just like popping. Like every house is a party, like whatever. So yeah, I had a girl, that girlfriend I was talking about, she lived there for a little bit. I went to the city college, but like, yeah, I would just get drunk and then just mob around Isla Vista, just like looking for fights.
Really?
And that was like the vibe of like a lot of my friends too. You know what I mean? And like, we just kind of, I don't know, not all my friends, like I had like multiple cliques because I came from LA. Like there was just, like when I was in high school, there was the Jits mob. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever heard it, but it was like basically because Hickson has Academy on Wilshire, right? And so like Crone had an older brother who was like the kind of OG generation. They were like 5 or 6 years older than me. And like they already had a reputation. There was like a crew. It was like whatever. They beat people up at parties. You kind of knew who they were. So that was Hawkson and like some of his homies. And then Crone was like the little kid that like kind of tagged along like with some of the people I knew, but like he already had like a following of older dudes that were older than me too because of his brother and whatever. He was Crone, So
is Crone your age?
Crone's like 3 years younger than me, so he's 36 now, I think. But at the time, so my first meeting of Crone was like he came into like my buddy's car. He had like a Tahoe, and we were like going to some party and. Like I remember like I had like a spray can and there were these kids that I knew, like I was a graffiti artist, like did tagging and all this shit, like dumb shit. So this kid that I like thought was like a cool tagger, I was like, hey dude, I was like, I fucking spray paint. And he came over, was like, oh sick. And he just jacked it from me, like took it right out of my hand. And Crone was sitting right behind me and was just like 13-year-old. He's like, oh, you're such a fucking bitch. Like da da da. I was just like, dude, this guy just jacked me and Crone Gracie thinks I'm a fucking pussy. Like da da da. And like years later, I told Crone that story. He's like, I don't even remember. If I don't remember, it never happened. Like, it was just like one of those things. But I was just like,
I wish that were true because I wish there were some things.
Dude, I wish I just gotten out and just like got my ass kicked or something. Because like there was just like those things sting to this day. Dude.
I know. I know. I have
so dumb.
I have moments like that too. I think part of the reason some of us become martial artists because I got bullied a little bit.
Had those experiences.
I'm 5'6". I was like I was 4 foot something when I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah,
and I was
I was
89 pounds.
Yeah.
I was 89 pounds as a freshman in high school, so I received a little bit of bullying.
Yeah.
It wasn't real bad. Like I didn't ever really get beat up because I was too funny and personable. But we become martial artists because of those things, and those memories they'll haunt you.
They haunt, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I had stuff like that, like in Santa Barbara, like some guy called me out, and it was just like, and I just like didn't go to like fight him, and then like everybody's around, I was just like, I don't know, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Like, it really doesn't.
But it will torture you.
Sometimes it does, like I'm just like, oh, I should beat that fool's ass.
I honestly, man, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a lot that I like. Those types of things don't keep me up when it's like, oh, I should beat this guy's ass. There's one guy.
There's one.
There's
always one. Dude.
I swear to God, it's just the one guy that in my whole life. It's this guy. I'm not even gonna say his name because I don't even want to give that full age.
What if it's the same guy, my same guy, and it's also James's same guy?
Is
It's
it
like, oh, let's go jump him, dude.
Is it a tall dude from Ohio?
Yes. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. I have a little woman from Ohio named Janet. That's my mom. She's my biggest bully, dude.
Your mom's from Ohio?
She's from Shaker Heights.
Wait, dude, that's crazy. I'm from Twinsburg. It's like literally 10
You know where Shaker Heights is?
Very well, yeah.
That's where...
That's where MGK's from too. Anyways, yeah, but no, dude, I feel that. It's only because this guy made fun of my brother.
Yeah.
That's it. Any other, like, people can say stuff to me until they're blue in the face. Like, it doesn't really bother me. But, like, when it's like a family thing, man, I don't know why. It's just like,
I've gotten beat up a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm also crooked. So.
I've also beat up a couple people,
Yeah,
and
same.
I regret all of it.
I was going to
Every
say,
last bit of it.
None of it was worth it.
That must be nice because I lost all my fights.
Oh shit! The one time that it was justified, the one time that I feel like that was good, was my friend got sucker punched in a bar, and I just immediately jumped on the dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was the only time that fighting was like justified.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was like avoidable and stupid.
Always.
Did you jump on the guy? Did he wear you like a backpack?
He was huge. I jumped on him. He had a bald head. I bit his bald scalp and was punching his
No,
face.
you fucking didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Dude, little savage came
Yeah.
out.
Well, I wasn't thinking, and
How
I was
old were you?
drunk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just like, this fucking guy punched my best friend. You know.
Some of it, it is like, it's not satisfying, but my friend who's a therapist who knows all the same people, this guy Patch, he said something. He was like, for you, beating somebody up may have been a little bit of a corrective experience because you were so used to being like kind of like the low man on the totem pole. And he was like, so you just needed to do it a couple of times to like know that you weren't, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. I still have to like, if I can't make a personal amends, which I did to one guy, which was great, but it took like 4 tries almost of like seeing
You
him out.
made amends to one of the guys?
Yeah, this one guy, it was like it's just, I mean, I can tell the story if you want, but it's just not.
The story of the amends is actually more.
The amends is cool. Yeah. I mean, the story isn't that glorious either. It's just that like he was drunk in the street and we were like, he was talking shit about me to my girlfriend in the street. She was like, why are you dating a clown like this? I was just dancing around having fun. And I was like, dude, if he says one more thing, I'm flicking the cigarette in his face and I'm just going to tee off on him. And so he did. And I did. And like, I knocked him out like right away, pretty much. I didn't realize it. And I hit him a couple more times, like after he was unconscious, which was like, like that's the kind of like dark shit where I'm like, like the guilt kind of comes up still. But I saw that dude like 3 or 4 times out when I was sober, when I was like, okay, I owe this guy an amends. I'd done the 4-step and then like, I just couldn't like bring myself to like approach him. And then I went out one night and I was like with a girl at some like club that he managed somewhere in Hollywood. And like, this was just God, bro. He just was up the stairs and he was standing on the balcony, just like looking down, kind of like a club manager, just surveying the scene by himself, and it was just like, had so much anxiety and I just knew I had to get up and go talk to him. And I went over and I was like, hey man, I was like, remember me? Like, I was like, it's like kind of like the worst thing I ever did. You know what I mean? And we had like, he was like, oh yeah, and then like, we just chatted, and he's like, how long you sober? I think it was like a year and a half at that point. And like, he's like, yeah, keep it up, dude. Like, and it was all good. And we hugged it out,
that's
and
awesome.
like that guy went to the hospital. Like that was bad. I had like blood over my clothes. Like I shit my pants a little bit. Like it was like gnarly, I saw bears like fighting and they shit when they fought. And I was like, oh, that's what happened. Like you just get adrenaline dump. No pun intended, but it's just, but I had one satisfying one where I was in Massachusetts and like, this dude, like, I just didn't click with like Boston people, it was like from LA and like,
it's a different vibe.
It was a different vibe. And like, it was just drinking was so rampant and talking shit. I didn't really get that whole like shit talky Boston, and this car pulled up with like girls in it. And I was like, I don't know if I said something to the girls or I was just trying to like be friendly. Like the windows were down and some girl was like, well, you can just kiss my ass. And I was like, all right, never mind, and then like the back window rolls down and the car creeps forward and this guy just pokes his head out. He's like, you can kiss my ass too. And I just like, without even thinking, just like punched him right in the face. That felt good. Just like clean, dude. I was just like straight shot.
And then they drove off.
And then just the car, I thought he was going to get out and fight me. And the car just like rolled away. And I was like, all right,
I realized. It's like,
yeah, it was just like, whatever. Fuck.
See, that's
down and
crazy
find
because
out,
in
dude.
Boston, man, like usually they'll get out of the fucking car.
I know, but I had like my little like Irish fighting homie with me, so I was like, whatever. Like it just, but then it turned out he was like a friend of a friend. It was just one of those things where it's just
That's why I keep
stupid,
James around.
drunken
My little Irish
college.
fighting homie.
But let me just clarify this. If I kept drinking, I would be in prison for something like that at this point. You know what I mean? Like those things were happening more and more, and they became like an outlet. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like I can fight this. It's just, yeah.
I remember the couple of times. I remember one time when I was like really upset, and some dude like started screaming at me, and I was like, fucking yes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, dude.
Like I was already like dark and upset and like pissed and adrenalized. And then some dude starts like running at me screaming. I was like, oh, I'm going to fucking kill this person. And we didn't get a chance to fight each other, which is for the best, And like I said, I really regret just about every single one except for the one justice moment.
Yeah.
But like, dang, like, it's weird being a dude.
I was thinking about this too. I was like, this is a masculinity thing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's weird being a dude.
Like courage.
It's like, it's so unnecessary, really. But it is like, unfortunately, I think it's kind of in your DNA a little bit. Obviously, not everybody's the same, and some people like have never ever wanted to and will never fight. But like, I don't know. There's something in a bunch of us where it's like, you have to know if you would be able to. You have to know like what you're made of and all this stuff, and that masculinity.
I mean, that in and of itself is an entire conversation because we have this whole thing where it's like we're told now never to fight. Like young men, they have to, keep that anger and that that toxic masculinity inside, which by the way is a good thing.
Right.
However, when you're going through puberty, man, like there's got to be a better way to go about it because
I think that the way to go about it would have been to be in jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
Well, 100%.
Honestly.
Like,
you know what I mean?
I wish, like, so I was just back in Florida visiting my family, and I have a little brother. He's 14, and he is the sweetest kid. Absolute gentle soul through and through, even like soft-spoken. And him and my dad and I, we were like walking back from the sporting goods store, and he was like telling me about this kid who, he's Filipino, and he had said some really racist stuff to him. And my brother just kind of snapped, and he threw him up against the wall, and he held him up. And the kid pissed himself. Literally peed all over himself.
Your brother held him up?
Yeah. My brother held him up, and the kid peed himself, and he dropped him. And they take him into the principal's office, and they call my dad, and they're like, "Well, this is what happened." And my dad, he goes, "Look, I don't condone violence in any way. You guys can do it with him what you need to at school, but I'm not punishing him when he gets home for that."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm sorry, but if the kid's saying racist shit to my son,
right.
like, yeah, did he punch him? No, he just held him up." then he did the right thing. Like that's my dad's, and
Right.
I'm lucky that I had that because it was like violence is because it's not the answer. We all kind of know that, but there's like that line in the Karate Kid where it's like, why do you learn karate? So that I never have to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a special thing. It's the same in jiu-jitsu. Like since doing it, dude, I have had zero instances where I've wanted to get into a fight.
You have
because
less, yeah.
100%. Like even moments where I get super enraged and like frustrated, whether it's at work or out in the world, I'm not like my mind used to go to like I can't wait to like find an excuse, even if it's just in my mind, like just playing over and over again, me beating the shit out of this person.
Right.
In real life and in my mind, I don't think about that stuff anymore. I'm like, what can I do to like mitigate this situation and figure out where I was maybe at fault? And you know,
Isn't it interesting how learning a martial art will make you less violent? Like it's a really fascinating concept.
It's that thing. I mean, Jordan Peterson said it right. He's like, it's not noble to not be violent if you don't know how to do violence. He's like, you become a master at it, and then it's actually a virtue to not hurt people.
That's beautiful.
You know, if you can't hurt people, then it's not a virtue. You're just being kind of like a sheep, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah, no, I think there's another way of putting it right. It's better to be
you're gonna say the gardener, and
Yeah.
the warrior in the garden.
yeah, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener at war,
Yeah.
right?
I've never
And
heard
I
that.
just
I
think
like
that
that.
like you have to acknowledge, like I have a friend who's a pacifist who's like, I don't want to participate in any violence. And I'm like, I hope you never have to, you know? I hope you never have to. I don't want to participate in any violence either, but I do want to be able
Prepared if
to
it
like,
happens.
I want to be able to protect my wife if it comes to it. you
We were
know?
just talking about this with my coach after training on Wednesday. What day is today? Thursday. Yeah, it's yesterday. So we were talking. It's like I was talking about how like much I didn't like UFC fans when I went to Krone's fight back in December, I think. Yeah, and I was just like, man, it's just a bunch of like fat, drunk, like gambling addicts. You know what I mean? Not everybody. I'm a
That's
UFC
actually a
fan,
pretty
you
fair,
know. But it was like that felt like the like general like vibe, you know. And they
Was
just
it Vegas?
it was Vegas, yeah, and they just want to see blood. It's like that's what gets the chant, you know. Like
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, it's like the violence,
bloodlust.
you know, and it's like it's hard to appreciate jiu-jitsu in that setting as much because it is an art designed to neutralize violence.
Right.
It's like I can choke the guy, I don't have to fucking punch him in the face,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, break his nose, and so
Kicking these shoes off.
using it at that level is like martial artists, I think we can appreciate watching it, you know,
Right.
and like the Japanese have a way different, like they're very quiet when they see good technique. They're like, oh, like they clap for the technique, but they don't just want to see somebody get like their head cracked open,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So
Sorry, I just realized that we derailed slightly. Will
From
you
my
tell-
story?
Yes.
Slightly, man. That was
Yeah.
45 minutes ago.
was it? Dude, I don't know, man. Time's flying actually.
Well,
so
hold on. Tell me the end of the story. Like
the end of
what-
my drunk log.
Yeah,
kinda.
yeah, man. Like I want to know, like
Yeah.
what was it like at the end? You know?
Yeah. So I had a weird end. It was kind of like the drinking. Like there was definitely one time where a guy came out of a bar with like a bloody rag on his face and was like, and then cops came in and like handcuffed me and I got put in the cop car and kind of talked my way out of it. But like that type of stuff was like towards the end, but it wasn't what made me, I think I'd headbutted the dude. I don't even know. You know what I mean? But it wasn't what made me want to get sober. Like what ended up happening was like I was laying on my bed and I prayed to a God I didn't believe in. Like my heart was just pounding out of my chest. I think I took a bunch of Adderall. At that time I was in this art school. I went to art center in Pasadena. So I was just like high pressure, my whole career's on the line type of vibe, you know, like competitive. And I would just snort my Adderall to get through the day. I would chew up Xanax. I would drink at night most weekdays, you know, and I'd be like, okay. But I was kind of aware. I'm like, oh, if I drink on a Tuesday night, I'm an alcoholic. So I would drink like NyQuil and take a sleeping pill and just stay up and do weird shit, you know? And I think I messaged some dude's ex-girlfriend that like went to the school. I didn't even know the guy that well, but I remember being like nervous that he knew somehow. And then I would like run into him and just like, this is like the kind of the insanity that was going, you know? So that type of shit was like, and it was lonely and my roommate kind of like didn't like the vibe. So he like paid the rent, but stayed at his parents' house, you know? And I just kind of had this apartment in Pasadena to myself and I had that relationship going on that was just bottoming out. Lots of like insecurity and jealousy and lying and she's cheating or she's not. And it just, whatever, it was a mess. So it's just all those things combined and
Emotional turmoil.
just, yeah, bad. But it was just like, and it was getting so this is kind of where the jumping off point kind of happens, right? And this gets more into my spiritual journey, which is kind of like happened a year or so before I actually found recovery, 12-step recovery. I had an assignment for a class where we had to read a book, any book in the library, just pick a book. So I like found this book and it was on near-death experiences. It was called Life After Life by Raymond Moody. And it was like the first book of its kind that like compiled all of the like near-death experiences. Like I saw the light. I was greeted by my grandmother who died. You know what I mean? Like all these like, and I was just, and I felt like chills. Like I was like, oh my God, like there's something here, like there's something spiritual happening, you know? And I got really into it. I was like, dude, this spiritual shit is like, what's up, you know? Like, and so I got like, started reading like Eckhart Tolle and like reading all these books and staring at candles and just like trying to like figure something out to like feel different. And it was working. But what was interesting was over time, I couldn't stop going back to my old like drinking or taking Molly and going to a rave. And like, that was when I genuinely felt like I would get in these states of like paranoid anxiety that would last for like a month or two, like where I just felt like I was on the brink of losing my mind and talking to myself on the street, you know, and it was like really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the thing I'm trying to like never go back to, you know,
Right.
and that's kind of where it left off, you know. And so eventually my mom found a therapist because we're very codependent. She's like, you need some help, you know, so she gets a therapist and it's like this angel of a woman who, rest in peace, Kay. She was a Buddhist meditation teacher in Santa Monica. So I started going to see her and her husband, they're like this healer duo, you know, and she would do some interesting shit. Like, so they had like a little center and we would go meditate there once a week. And so that kind of kept me grounded. And then she gently nudged me to like go back to school. So I finished the art school degree, but I had one more like blackout drunk, like call an ex, rant on her voicemail type of night, you know, like it was this girl who turned out to be my Eskimo in AA actually. So that's a whole other story. But
And for those of you who don't know, the Eskimo is the person who brings you in from the cold.
yes,
That's the person that brings you
Kind
in
of, yeah.
to the fold.
your point of contact into the secret society. But yeah, I had one of those nights, you know, and then I just went home and I was like, all right, God, if you're there, like, I'm just gonna meditate and stay sober and get through this school. You know, it was like 2 more terms or something. So which is like, I don't know, 16 weeks or whatever. So yeah, I ended up finishing school and that was around like 2011, December, you know, and then it was like New Year's. And then somebody handed me like a flute of champagne on New Year's and I just took like a sip and I was like, oh my God, like there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this. I can backtrack a little bit because my buddy actually who was sober, maybe he's my real Eskimo, family friend, we do like Easter at his house, you know, and Christmas Eve, whatever. And he'd been sober like a year and I'd known him since elementary school, this guy, Pete. And he took me to a meeting at the 26th and Broadway in Santa Monica. And like, I was so kind of delusional at the time. Like he was introducing me to people as like a spiritual giant. He's like, this Andrew is a spiritual giant. I didn't know he was making fun of me. Like I was just kind of like, I was like, oh yeah, these people get me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
giant.
I'm reading Eckhart Tolle, like I'm meditating, you know, like he was totally clowning me.
Oh,
like
man.
I couldn't even, you know, so
Dang.
I was like, these AA people can really learn something from me. You know, like that was like my, it was just like gone, dude. So fast forward, you know, I have the sip of champagne. That's like New Year's Eve 2011. On January, I thought the 1st was my sobriety date, but because I drank on midnight, it was actually the 2nd. So January 2nd, 2012 was like my actual sobriety date. And like, yeah, I had called Pete, you know, and I was just like, dude, what's up with like the meetings? And he took me to this one called Prime Time in Sherman Oaks. And the guy speaking was this, I don't remember who he was, but he just kind of like got to the podium and they don't really do drunkalogs. They kind of just are like the spiritual solution, the mind, the mental obsession, the spiritual malady. And like, he just stood at the podium, just like, oh. He's like, it just feels good to be in the present moment, you know? And every time I reenact that, and even in that moment, I just when his shoulder dropped, like I felt like the release too, you know, and I was like, oh, I was like, I'm safe here, you know? And so I had nothing else going on. I was living at my parents' house. I guess I could have gone to rehab, but like I didn't really know the deal, you know? And I see now that rehab is good for that, like extracting from the world for a little bit. I was just lucky that my parents lived in West LA and like they were cool enough to like host me and just let me sleep at my old bed and kind of just go to meetings, you know, and that's all I did. I was just like that's the only place that feels better and I can't drink, you know. And so and I was kind of trying to pursue some work in advertising, which was what I had my degree for, you know, but like nothing was panning out. So it just became this like sober journey, you know, and I just ended up like driving Uber and just doing whatever I could, working at restaurants and
which probably sounded like the worst thing possible, like a couple months before, and then you're doing it and you're like, this is all right.
It was all right, dude. You know, I was driving Uber, like I started like having these great conversations with people and I like brought my like nice Canon, like my 5D Mark II at the time. And I was like, hey, do you want to take like a portrait, you know? And so they take like a selfie on my like 5D and I would like post like their story or stuff from our conversation. It was like before podcasting, you know, it was like 2016.
This is your Uber account you're talking
about. But it was
I've checked it out, man. It's pretty cool.
It was just fun, you know.
Feels like Humans of New York.
Yeah, it was kind of like, and I'm not like plugging it because I don't even work on it anymore, but it just like, I've had like, it was just a nice thing to do, like just get out of my head and drive around. But that's just one little chapter of like,
I mean, it's better than getting arrested or nearly arrested and obsessing about, you know, what your ex-girlfriend's doing and leaving her voicemails and being scared that you're on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
It's a little better than that.
It's a little better, dude. It's chill.
Yeah.
It's a huge step in the right direction, you know.
And then how long had you been sober when you started doing jiu-jitsu?
So jiu-jitsu came in pretty much within I was like 2014 at the end. So I was already sober like almost 2 years, you know. And I was coming off of like, this is when like the sex and love shit really kicked in because I was like, read a book on like pickup artists and shit. And I was like, oh,
was it No More Mr. Nice Guy?
No, it was like, I think I read The Game, but I was watching a lot of like RS, I think is it RSD, like Real Social Dynamics and all those dudes like on YouTube. And I was driving Uber and I was like, I know a promoter at that club. I was like, I'm just going to park for a little bit and like go in there, you know, and like try some of this shit out. And like part of it, I think was, as to use my friend's term, a corrective experience. Cause I was like, I couldn't talk to women without drinking. And now I'm like going to learn how to do it, you know? So I pushed myself to do all that shit. And it worked, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I met some chicks, I had some fun experiences, I made some friends. But eventually I bottomed out with that too.
I did a similar thing when I first got sober. I wanted to know how to talk to girls. Like, am I even capable of doing this? Like, you don't feel sexy anymore. You don't feel powerful when you stop drinking.
It's been 7 years and I still don't know how to. Can you guys teach me?
To talk to women?
My God, yeah.
I'll tell you what you do. You walk up and you go, hey, I'm Seth. How you doing?
Shut up.
It's because your heart is not really into women. It's fine.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah. Oh, you think
once
I'm gay?
You just get honest with yourself, it'll just line up.
Is it because you think I'm gay? Is that what you're saying?
No.
I made a gay joke on the pod. My bad. We accept you, dude, however you are.
Thanks, guys.
But yeah, that was kind of it. You know what I mean? I was doing that. That was like my first year. And then once that kind of crashed and burned, that was when like jiu-jitsu showed up. And I hit up my buddy Will. And I was like, dude, he was a brown belt. And I was like, can I come like try, you know? And he's just like, yeah, bro. He's like, come through, you know? And it's weird how timing, because people would say, like, I thought about it at different times, like before that, you know? And people would say the thing that makes you like, kind of like, like maybe not, you know? Like, oh, like it fucks up your body so much or whatever. You'll hear the fearful side of it. And then when that time finally happened, Will was like, yeah, dude, of course, come. You know, it's fun. And like, it's like, all right, cool. And he just showed me some stuff. And it was kind of just like what we do with these guys that come to Rolling Sober. It was just like, he's like, all right, roll with this white belt. And like, he's going to put you in some uncomfortable positions. And like, they did. And like, I was like, this sucks, but it's like addictive, you know?
Yeah, you're like, but I have to understand this.
The first roll I did, there was this guy who I still train with today. He's a brown belt, but he might've been a purple belt at the time. Anyways, he was mounted on me and like sinking his hips in and like smashing his chest into like my face.
Baking on top of you.
What's up?
He was just like baking in.
He was just cooking me like to an extreme amount, with his chest in my face. And I was like, look, like my head's like glued to the side. And I was just like, this is awful. Like that's like my first.
That was your first role.
Yeah, that was my first role.
Wow.
And I was like, this is jujitsu. Like this fucking sucks. But
I remember.
See, that's so weird because my first one was when James put me in a rear naked choke, and I went, I feel everything.
You're like, I like this.
I had like I even looked at James and he was like, you feel it. And I was like, oh my God. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it
dude.
is awesome, dude.
I feel like everybody should learn first and foremost an RNC. First day.
RNC.
That's what you should learn right from the jump because it's so cool. It's such
Dude,
a
It
I
really
love-
is, dude.
I love
so
how
rad.
everyone, you're like, you want to learn how to kill somebody? I'm like, I've never even learned this.
It's a
You're like,
blood
oh yeah,
choke.
you
It
just
doesn't
lift
kill
up
them.
and twist their neck. I'm just like,
Well, that'll
all
do
right,
it.
cool.
Yeah. I was talking about RNCs. Yeah, you're not going to kill someone. It's a blood choke. So it's,
I know. I mean, but if you just keep on choking them after they pass
That's
out,
true.
they could die.
But you were like, this is how you break somebody's neck.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right.
Well, the thing is, like, okay, if we're gonna like teach these guys how to defend themselves and they're getting attacked by multiple people, you're gonna need to kill one of them first and foremost. You
yeah,
know
it's
what
like
I'm
one
saying?
guy versus 100 gorillas.
You know what I'm
think
saying?
so.
One gorilla versus 100
You guys with
yeah,
me
yeah,
or
yeah.
not, dude?
You know what I mean? You gotta kill them.
You gotta, they gotta die, dude.
All right, look, if there's 5 people, 3 of them ain't walking out of here.
Yeah, one of them's gotta die.
I feel like I would like to break, like if I was getting jumped, I'd want to break somebody's limb. So it's like a loud snap.
Yes,
So, they, like, hear
so
it.
that it scares the other.
Yeah,
dudes.
then it might scare them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
Like,
getting, you might get killed by these dudes. They might stomp your face and kill you on the
It's
concrete.
all possible.
So you have to hurt one of them real bad first
Yeah.
and foremost. One of them right off the jump. It has to be catastrophic damage real fast.
Yeah.
Some of the best things you can do is scratch their eyeballs
Mhm.
because that takes them out of commish.
Say that to the camera.
Punch to the throat, kick to the balls. Like you have to cause catastrophic damage fast, right?
Mm.
Is this from experience?
This is from training martial arts with my dear friend Michael Mendoza, who when I first got sober, I started kung fu before I started jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I started like immediately. I was like,
Mendoza's a kung fu guy.
yeah, Michael Mendoza, my kung fu teacher, lives in Upland. Really cool dude. And he's a mixed martial artist, and he knows some jiu-jitsu, and he knows kung fu, and he's a black belt in karate. Like, but I wanted to learn kung fu specifically, and I knew that he taught kung fu because my one of my castmates on the cruise ship was his son, and he came to visit, and he was like, "Oh, you know kung fu?" And I started talking to him. So I got sober, and I immediately was like, "I want to know kung fu," because I grew up watching Bruce Lee movies, and I was like, I've always wanted to just be like, I want to be Bruce Lee. Is
Yeah,
really
Jimmy
what I
Douglas
want.
wants to be Bruce Lee.
Exactly, and
Bruce Lee's legit though.
yeah, no, Bruce Lee's
Like
no
that
joke.
video of
He's
him
the
like
first
hitting the
mixed
ping
martial
pong ball with the
It's
nunchucks, dude.
Unreal, man.
You don't think
he's
that's
not a
real,
person.
right?
That guy's AI before it was real. I'm telling you.
That's insane.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's an exceptional person. Obviously,
I've been wanting to like research him a little bit more. Now that I'm
there's a History on Fire podcast episode about him. I think there's like it's 2 episodes long, and it's like a really in depth look at his history, and it's super worth a watch.
dude, you just reminded me because you were asking me my first time training. Actually, was like there's this kind of like legend. I think his name's Jerry Blank. He was a guy that had like a gym in the Palisades, and he ran like little privates there. And I think Hickson, if I'm not mistaken, may need a fact check on this, started training people when he moved to LA, sharing that with him maybe. But this dude, Jerry, like me and my friends, like my buddy's dad just like set up like a lesson with him, and it was like 4 of us, and it was like the best time.
That's cool.
Like I was just like the most fun that I'd had in forever. It wasn't jujitsu per se, but like it was just, I was like, man, I wish I had just gotten into martial arts when I was a kid.
yeah, I
Like,
did
really
actually.
needed it.
I was in karate when I was a kid for like a couple years, and I had like 2 or 3 belts into my karate journey, and then we just, I don't know, it fizzled out. And then I started doing wrestling
Yeah.
in middle school, and I wrestled into high school. And
How
I've told
far
this-
did you go with wrestling?
I was, I mean, I just did it as a freshman in high school. And then after that, I quit because my wrestling coach told me to choose between doing the plays or being a wrestler, which was a huge bummer actually, because I
Doing the
should have
play,
just,
so you were in theater too. Yeah.
and now I'm
You
doing
made
both.
the right call. Yeah, I was going to say, you made the right call.
Do it all.
Yeah.
I bet you could kick your coach's ass now. That's the fun part.
Did you play sports in high school?
Do I look like I played sports in high school?
You look like an athlete.
Thank you so much, man. That is so sweet. No, I was.
You're not like somebody's gonna look at you and be like, that guy had never played a sport in his life.
No, yeah.
You're an athlete
You look
now.
athletic.
That actually genuinely means a lot to me, man. Because no, I didn't. I wrestled from like 8 to 12 or something like that. And I was average. I was adequate at best. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything fancy. But I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast, but I went blind when I was a kid. I had something called an ocular migraine.
Whoa.
And then I started developing vertigo.
Keep the mic in front of your face.
Oh, yeah, my bad. And I started developing vertigo.
You can't see it, bro.
Yeah.
He's got the. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
He's got the ocular fuck up.
He's still.
Yeah, I mean, it's. No, I went blind when I was like 12 years old. And when my sight came back after like a month, I was colorblind, all this stuff. Damn. So I just didn't want to do anything that would like hurt. Like my head hurt constantly. Like I woke up, had migraines. I went to bed, I had migraines. Not headaches, migraines.
Actually, really glad you're talking about this because I had this is kind of shooting into another topic. I had somebody reach out, a potential client whose 12-year-old is having migraines.
Yeah,
so I'll talk to you after this because I want to ask. Maybe I'll put you in touch. I don't know if that's ethical.
Please,
or not,
man, I'd be happy to. But
I had migraines around that time too.
Yeah. Did you also go blind?
I did not go
Then
blind.
stop trying to one-up me.
I'm not.
I'm just,
I'm trying to connect with you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to help you, motherfucker.
Brother, you're into that shit? This kind of shit you're into? No, man, I just never got to play sports because of it. And I always really wanted to. Like, I loved wrestling. But after that, it was just like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to do theater and show choir and stuff like that. So that's what I did instead. And I really wish that I did sports in high school because I think that it would have been good for just like having some kind of outlet for that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that theater wasn't, but it was
Right.
a different type of outlet.
For sure. It's interesting how like there, for whatever reason in high school, it feels like there's a line in the sand between athletes and artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're either like a football player or you're weird.
I've always been torn on that line.
Yeah, me
for
too.
real.
Yeah.
Like,
Me too.
I remember trying to take AP art and it like didn't feel right, but I was like, it did too, And now I'm still in that because it's like, there's this art dealer that goes to the meeting and he's like, little less jujitsu. You know what I mean? He's like, cause he believes in me as a painter and he's legit, like plugged in with like really legit people.
Yeah.
And this was kind of what I was doing my inventory on earlier today. It's like art stuff and like why I'm not pursuing it, and like and I know you guys can relate to all this shit, but it was just,
Yes, we can.
getting into self and getting into like the ego and like, so this, going back to my story and bring it back to, but like the recovery journey is just like, it's incrementally learning how to get out of self, and it's just like, the step process is interesting because it's almost like you dive fully into your ego, and you're looking at it for like, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. This is your pettiness, your self-loathing, your lust, your fucking greed, like all of it, and this is how it applied to this situation and this one where you're playing the victim and you see all that, and then like, so I did an inventory today because I was writing about, and you guys can like artists that are kind of successful that kind of gatekeep, you know what I mean? Like people in the field that are like good at what they do and they kind of have it going on, but they'll like never open a door for you. They'll just like, they won't like reach out. They won't help you at all. Yeah. This is like a limiting belief. Like I think plenty of people will, but like,
no, it unfortunately,
exists.
I'll tell you about a story after.
And so this is what he said, because this guy's he was a producer for a long time. He's like, yeah, man, he's like, because people are all in self and ego operates on scarcity, which is that if I'm giving to you, I'm losing, And he's like, in recovery, it's all about I'm gaining by giving to you. He's like, so we got to find a way to use your art practice for service and for giving.
Yeah.
And that's where he's like, all the doors are going to open. Everything shows up. And I'm like, dude, and now I'm like reinvigorated. I'm like, oh my God, I can actually have an art career. I could sell paintings. I don't have to be a therapist the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Which I enjoy doing, but
right.
And
now you're a therapist. So
I am.
Do you help people with drug addiction? Do you do that kind of therapy?
Yeah, I feel like I'm basically like a salesman for all 12-step programs at this point. Like I just get reached out to people and within like one session talking, I'm like, okay, they need SLAW, they need ACA, they need a DA program. Like it's just like
you're trying to pawn them off into a program.
Kind of. I mean, and the ones that are really doing the work, I'd say the unfortunate part about my job that I've realized is like, I wanted to say like 25%, but who knows? Maybe like 1 in 3 clients after like 5 or 6 months, they're going to decide that like you're the problem. After not doing any of the work or taking your recommendations or reading any of the books, it's like, oh, like it's the therapist, and like I'm just gonna find somebody else that like really fits me better, and da, da, da. It's just like, and you're gonna keep playing out the same cycle, and then that's left me feeling a little like bummed at times. I'm like, like did I just waste my time with that person, you know? And but
Did they pay you?
Yeah.
Then no, you didn't.
No, I didn't. I paid my bills.
No,
But I do
seriously.
have some really good clients who are like doing the work and like joining like programs, and like it's really rewarding. It's just so exhausting.
But also,
emotionally.
you planted that seed, by the way.
What?
So you didn't
Yeah.
waste your time. All joking
True.
aside, like
Yeah.
I had this conversation with my it's secret advice guy, as we'll call him, a few months ago, and it was like, because I can't figure out how to sponsor people. Like I've tried, and I've either had people fall out or I just can't sponsor them. I'm like, dude, you have issues that I can't help you with, or I've been in a situation where like the person, I was like, it's not safe to be around you. I'm sorry, but I can't. And I was like, dude, yeah, like I'm just wasting my time trying this. And he was like, well, did you learn anything from that? And I was like, no. And he goes, well, you learned boundaries from this guy. You learned boundaries from this person. You learned how much it can affect you from this person. You know, like
You're
just
also
learn different
learning
things.
what kind of sponsorship doesn't work. And that's kind of what this dude who took me through the book, this guy Michaelis, around like 9 years sober, I was like suicidal, like just fucking so depressed, you know? And he was like, hey man, like I'll just take you through the book if you want, you know? Like so chill. He's like, just like some guy took me through it. And he's like, the main thing I want to impress upon you is that your main issue is self, and you just need a selfless practice. Like jujitsu, you don't know how to fight, you need to go train jujitsu, learn how to fight. It's just like that simple. He's like, so here's the big book, highlight this, underline this. It doesn't really matter how you interpret it. He had his explanations, I have mine. But the main thing is just now you have something to do with somebody. And the message really is in the book. And that's what's kind of been brought out to me. And he's like, there's a lot of fallacies in program about like what a sponsor is, you know, like a sponsor can't save themselves basically. And it's just that like, and he put the main thing, and we write this in like one of the first pages. He's just like, your problem is pride. And like the inverse of pride is that I'm a piece of shit that has nothing to offer. So like, I always think of pride as like puffing my chest out, but he's like, if you look at it as you think you have nothing to offer, that's why you're not going out actively trying to help people and like, you know, reach out to people. And so to your point too, it was like, I had the same thing, which was like, it's me trying to help them and I'm bringing self into sponsorship. And he's like, take that out. It's just a practice. You're going to start the book with so many people, they're just going to like fall off. It doesn't matter. All you got to do is just keep finding people to read the book with. And that really helped me. And he's like, find people that already have a sponsor. You know what I mean? It's like just read the book with them. And if they want to go through the steps, great. And that's kind of how I did it too. Is it's like I had my original sponsor, this dude Paul, who's amazing. He's like saved my life. You know, he's been there for me. But like we never cracked the book. You know, he's just it's like, and so. And he's written a book on like, you know, the spiritual principles. It's called like the 3 mantras, you know, and it's like the 3 mantras are like, there's help other people get what they want. There's nothing to get in return. And the situation is going to work out better than you could have imagined. Those have changed my life, you know? And that's kind of the end result of like having a selfless practice, which is like, how am I just coming to the situation either as a taker with my ego and my agenda and feeling less than, and I need that to feel better about myself, or like, it's all God. It's going to work out better than I could imagine. How can I be of service here? You know? And so that was the big theme of the day with the inventory I read earlier to this guy. And it's just like, I need to remind myself of those principles over and over and over again. So if I'm staying in the book work with guys, I'm constantly being reminded it's all just self. And then there's God. God is everything or God is nothing, you know? And so like, that's kind of where it's at today, is just this like constant struggle of like any problem I have in my life, it's self. I can't sponsor this guy. It's not me sponsoring him. It's God. We just got to read the book together. So he can be schizophrenic. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's not about me, you know? Anyways. Hope that helps.
That was beautiful, man.
Yeah. And I remember like when you get attached to the idea of you helping a person, you fuck yourself. You know what I mean? You kind of fuck yourself because it's like this person has a higher power and it's not me. And I'm just, like you said, I'm just reading the book. Maybe I'm a little further down the the hallway to the party that we're all going to.
Yep.
I'm like, it's pretty good down here. The closer you get to it, it gets even better and better. You know, come this way. You know, but the party and all of the like magical experiences in the hallway. I had nothing to do with that. I'm just walking down it. We're both walking down the hallway. That's it.
Ram Dass, dude. What's the quote? We're all just walking each other home.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I like this guy that I'm working with. So
You are a
Michaelis
spiritual giant.
is like the Zen. Like we should go to his meeting one day. He's got a Tuesday meeting, Fire Pit, but he's just got that like Zen. Like this guy helps so many people. You could fill a stadium with all the people he's read the book with, you know, and like I like those outlier types. And I'm like, dude, like what, that guy's got something, you know what I mean? But he got really busy. He took this job working at like running a rehab or something. And so he got busy. So I just kind of like segued to working with his buddy Jed. And Jed and I are like way more similar, like background, like, and I went to Jed's house and he was like yelling at his dog. And I was like, got anxiety. I'm like, that's me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, we're not in serenity. And like, he's way more high strung than Michaelis. And I was like, all right, am I like going to be like working with this guy now, you know?
See, it's wild to me that you're high strung because you just don't come off.
No, I'm not. Internally, I think I'm like a little chaotic sometimes, but I've come a long ways, you know, but like the headbutting days are behind me. Then when we do the work and we just connect and we start popping the book open, it's like immediate peace for both of us, you know? And then it's like, oh my God, we're all crazy. We literally just show up to do this work together and we're out of self. Whether the other person stays sober or not, it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
It's not about me. It's just that like, I got to get out of this ego self thing that I've like, and I have explanations of like what that is, what I think it is, but it's probably another episode.
We could have you back for a second episode.
We should.
Yeah,
I think that
great, man.
I think that we've talked so long now that we have to tie it up at some point. But I could keep talking to you for a long, long, long time.
I think this is fun, dude.
Yeah, it's
this
super
is
fun.
Like, what more perfect? I mean, you guys are sober dudes that do jujitsu. I've been wanting to find people that do that for so long.
Yeah.
You know, and I would find they'd pop up here and there. Like you're one of like and I was just like, but I never had any real connections. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew Stefan Kosev, who sorry, I said his last, but whatever. I mean, he's a figure in the jiu-jitsu community too. You know, he was on like the Show Your World podcast, and he's just like, but he runs Bodhi Casa. It's like a sober living and longtime black belt, you know, and I've always been like, okay, that guy's like kind of the vision, you know what I mean? And he said too, he's like, the house that he runs, it just kind of like manifested. He's like, once I really committed to helping people and getting out of self, I'm interpreting it this way, but he said that helping people, number one, like everything started working out. And his lifestyle is dope, dude. He has a house in Mammoth. He's up there with his dog all the time. He snowboards constantly. He's just helping guys with the sober living. Outdoors is like a big part of their recovery. Legit black belt under Cronin Hickson. You know, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, you create the fellowship you seek.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won't ramble for too long, but I did want to kind of share the story about how, you know, you and Lucas...
Oh,
that
yeah,
whole
dude.
situation. Is it odd or is it God? And it's God.
Yeah.
You know, I was in this
love that
meeting
guy.
I told you about, and it's this bonfire meeting on Tuesday nights at my buddy Lucas's house up in Beverly Hills. And I had shared about rolling sober, you know, during the meeting. And I started talking about this guy. I was like, yeah, we've got this brown belt James, and he's really awesome. He's kind of the guy that has started the whole thing. He's like the Bill W of it, where he just kind of steps back and lets anything happen, which is amazing. Like seriously, that's kudos to you. Because he's right. You don't have like an ego about it. And if you do, you don't show it. Where it's like, you just kind of are like, yeah, I've started something and let's see where this goes.
I mean, like, well, thank goodness that Bill was like, okay, I can't run this whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So cool, I started it, but whatever. It's turning into what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wanted to make it happen, but I knew that once it happened, that it would take on a life of its own.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a beautiful thing. But it is hard to let go of control.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You get the impulse to be like, well, I started this, but then I'm like, shut up, James.
But
shut the
it's
fuck up.
Yeah.
to the kind of the point that this guy was making earlier that I need to be reminded of is like, if it's aligned and it's like spiritually aligned, it's like effortless.
Yeah.
You know, like all the right people, like Scott showing up and bringing all those guys
Yep.
from Pax House, like that's just been like, oh, right, of course.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just kind of makes sense and
Yep.
it just happens. Like,
Yeah.
it's so nice when you're in that pocket, you
Yeah.
know, when you know it's like, okay, cool. Like this just,
Dude, it's easy when it's right.
yeah.
When it's right, it's easy. Well, hold on.
Yeah, I know.
Let's start. Let's not.
Yeah,
we're not going to
yeah.
figure this out.
Giggity.
But
no,
he,
but
he wants us to finish his Luke story.
Yeah, to finish the story. Yeah, so I was at the meeting. I was sharing about rolling sober, and I was like, "Yeah, there's this guy Andrew," and I did drop your last name, just like you just did with 80 other people. So now I don't now I don't feel bad. No, it's cool, man. Whatever. But I dropped your name, and he went Andrew S. And I went, yeah. He goes, dude, I went to high school with him, and and I told you about this. My original pang was like, he was like Lucas's bully or something. I was like, oh shit. And I kind of like,
I don't think so.
I started, you weren't.
Yeah.
And I started treading really lightly, and I was like, oh yeah. He goes, yeah, like I think I've seen him in a meeting once or twice, and you guys had connected.
I was small in high school too. I was like 150 pounds.
Yeah, well, he was 120.
Yeah, he was tiny.
150 pounds not that small.
No, it's really not. I was
high school.
100. I was 130 in high school.
150 pounds is actually not that small.
Yeah.
I played baseball. Yeah, it's
No,
not-
he's saying he's 150 pounds.
yeah.
I was like a year ago.
Yeah, you look great, brother.
Thank you.
But anyways, yeah. So when I left the meeting, I called Andrew, and it was so funny because he immediately was like, "Man, I'm so pissed. I just went to this meeting, and God, this woman is sitting in the corner, and she's like eating these chips, and she's just making the sounds." And he's like so angry about it. He goes, "And I need to find like a meeting where and he started talking about this bonfire meeting. I guess it was with that other guy." And I was like, "Well, buddy, you're never going to guess this. The reason I called you was I just got out of a bonfire meeting with a buddy you went to high school with, and I mentioned his name, and he goes, dude, I was thinking about him today
Yeah.
about because he's a landscaper, and he was like, maybe I'd be happier being a landscaper." And I was like,
Yeah.
you should come to this meeting. And the next week, lo and behold, man, he shows up to the
It
meeting.
is
was
trippy.
Fucking awesome.
I was feeling burned out as I normally do doing therapy work. And I was like, man, would it just be better if I was like working with my hands in the sunshine, like doing landscaping? And I was like, oh yeah, Luke was doing landscaping. I haven't seen him since like I was like newly sober. And then he calls me 2 seconds later and he's like, dude, I was just at this guy at Luke's house. Luke Brock, like, sorry, I said B.
Yeah, it's cool.
But it was just one of those interesting. And like, I want to go back, dude. I told James this. I was like, I texted Luke about it too. I hate hybrid meetings, dude. Like, I can't,
do
like
too.
the Zoom meeting,
hate 'em.
bro. Like,
I'm
we're
sure
just
James
sitting
left it for
there.
I
I
do
want it
every
to be
week.
one or other.
I'm
Bro,
with you.
yeah,
If it's a Zoom meeting, fine.
great,
Just keep that screen out of this meeting.
bro. It's so tough.
I get it.
It's a throwback to COVID, you know. And I'm just like, dude, we're out of that stage, like,
Yeah.
you know. And the fire pit's so spiritual. Like, 'cause I used to go to
Yes.
I don't know if you ever went to that Thursday meeting, kind of near Prospect and Rodney. It was like on Prospect, I think, and it was just in the backyard.
I can already tell you I haven't.
Okay, well, it was a nice meeting. The guy sold the house, so they moved it somewhere else, but they just had a fire pit. And it was just like dudes under the stars, fire pit, sharing about God and life. And it was like nothing felt more like the right place to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay, cool. This is going to be Luke's thing. And then just like go to Luke's, and it's like 4 of us watching this huge TV screen with Zoom. And I'm like, man, this could be so good. It could be that, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Right.
And I told Luke, but I'm going to go back. But like, yeah.
No, I get it, man. I mean, literally, when he came the other week, I felt a little guilty. I was like, because everything wasn't working. And
Right.
it was like, and I'm literally sitting over here like, I was just talking about how great this meeting is,
Yeah.
and everything's falling apart.
It still was great.
And it
It
was
is great.
but there was like this guy there, and God bless his heart, like, you know, it's what he needed. But he was like, yeah, you guys mind if I play some classic rock? And I literally looked at him, I was like, please do not play any music right now.
Oh my God.
I was like, he was
Like
like,
on his phone?
yeah, he wanted to like start playing some classic rock on his
Like
music.
during the
on his-
meeting?
yeah, no, before the meeting started. And I was like, dude, it's a beautiful night. There's not a cloud in the there's not a cloud in the sky. We are literally in a perfect place. Please, can we not play music? And he was so nice about it. He was like, yeah, no, I totally get it, man. And he was on the Yosemite trip, and there was a moment where we were all out cooking around a bonfire, and he started playing music. And it's just like, I get it. It's, you know, some people need that. They need like a little bit of like white noise, essentially, to kind of like drown out the sounds. I need to listen to the birds chirping, man. I need to listen to the crickets chirping.
Right.
Well, we could throw our own bonfire meeting.
We can, and I'm sure we will at some point, but not tonight. And tonight we are going to wrap up this
A jiu-jitsu
podcast.
bonfire meeting, dude.
Oh God!
Come on,
Add
like,
fire
have
to it.
everything, dude.
It is a hybrid.
It's true. But dude, it's been awesome, man. Thank you for
man,
doing
thank
this.
Thank you.
And I'll be seeing you on Sunday morning, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm coming this time.
All right. Cool.
Awesome.
I'll be there too.
Let's do it.
Oh,
I'm back, baby. It's getting warm now.
The trifecta.
It's
returns.
We'll get it going. We can finally find out who's better at jiu-jitsu.
It's
We'll
definitely
never
you
know.
guys.
We'll never know.
All right.
And why is that? Because the word I